Welcome, everyone. This is going to be, I think, a very interesting presentation. How to increase sales by attracting more of your best, most profitable customers. Forget those people who are slackers who don't pay. We want the best customers. Alexander Nouveau is with us today, and I'd love to get into his presentation. But before we do, I have a little bit of business to attend to. So this is being brought to you by SCORE, the Minnesota, Florida chapter of SCORE. SCORE, if you don't know us, we're a nationwide nonprofit organization that's been around for more than 50 years, but nobody knows about us. I don't know what that's about. We provide America's small businesses with free confidential business mentoring. All you have to do is ask, you'll be assigned a mentor, and you'll be off and running, and your business will be the better for it. Our chapter, as I said, is in Florida. We serve Manatee and Sarasota counties and have for over 50 years. We have nearly 90 volunteers with experience across the spectrum, ready to help you to bring your business to the next level. Our chapter was recently recognized as a chapter of the year. So at what point can we help you? Well, we literally can help you from you're thinking about opening a business to you're thinking about closing a business. We can help you everywhere in between. You just had an idea and you'd like to kick it around the water cooler, but you don't have a water cooler. Well, we can be your water cooler. You're in the startup phase. You've opened a business and you said, oops, I thought I knew a lot about this, but maybe I need some help. Or you're in business and you want to grow. Or finally you said, I want to be out of here. Or maybe you'd like to buy a business. That's the other side of that, right? We have a team that's specially designed with their knowledge to help you buy or sell a business. So all you have to do is ask for help. Where do you do that? You go to score.org/Minnesota and you click on a request a mentor. It couldn't be easier. All you have to do is fill in a little bit of contact information, tell us what you're looking for in terms of what kind of help, and you will be matched with a mentor. I just got a request, and 2 hours later, I'm sending them an email saying, let's connect. So it can happen very quickly. You could have a mentor before the end of the day today. You can also look for other workshops. We have weekly workshops. You can sign up for any of them, or you can search the website for templates or other material that can help you with your business. Lastly, I'd like to thank our sponsors. You'll notice that many of our sponsors are banks. I'm here to tell you that if you walk into a bank with your business plan and a SCORE mentor, they're going to listen to you. You walk in with your business plan, which might be as a couple of Post-it notes, they're probably not going to listen as well. So think about getting a mentor, at least to walk into the bank with maybe. Thank our community partners who are always supporting small businesses. So without further ado, I am going to turn this over. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to say, Alexander, take it away. It's up to you.
Okay, thanks, Diane. Great intro. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen and let's start. Diane, can you see my screen okay?
I can. That's perfect.
All right, wonderful. So thanks everyone for joining us. In this workshop, you're going to learn how to find your best customers who pay, stay, and refer others like themselves. You're going to learn how to structure your business in a way to attract your best customers or public folks you don't want. We're going to do a case study of American Express and talk about how they've got fewer customers, but more profit per customer. And how to stand out from the competition by creating an offer so good that customers would feel silly saying no to it. Now, before I do that, I'm going to tell you a story. When she first started coughing, we really just kind of thought it was a cold. But colds don't have that really distinct, dry, rattly sound to it. Then she started gasping for air. And I could see her lungs expand, but she wasn't getting anything. It was like she was drowning. This was March of 2020, and the COVID pandemic was just starting. My wife was one of the first COVID cases in the country. Now, if you remember back then, March 2020 was also when the entire world economy shut down. Y'all remember how scary that was? And that caused my thriving business to shut down too, which meant no more sales, nothing. And customers were scared. They started begging for refunds. And I was in a spot where I didn't have any money. I couldn't give it to them. And on top of all the business pain and the problems, my wife had COVID. It was getting worse every day, and there was nothing I could do. And from watching the news, I knew what happened was that when somebody went to the hospital. And remember, this is March of 2020. If a COVID patient went on a breathing machine, they often didn't make it home. And then it happened. 10 days after the symptoms started, she said those words, "Baby, I can't breathe. We need to go to the ER right now." And at that moment, time just stopped. And I don't think I've ever felt true terror until that moment. The question in my mind was, what if we went to the ER and I never saw her again? And it felt like I was going to lose everything I loved and never feel happiness again. And I can't remember the drive to the hospital, but we were met by doctors in hazmat suits. Terrified, we looked at each other and we started crying. And I remember just hugging her for as long as I could because I didn't want to say goodbye. Eventually, the doctor separated us and they slowly let her in the hospital. And I waited outside the ER for 3 hours, just dreading everything. I had thousands of dollars in bills, $0 in new prospects, and the fear of losing my wife after only a year and a half of marriage. Sitting in my car, I felt backed into a corner. My life was literally falling apart. It was crumbling. I had to do something. I had to survive. Now, I couldn't control what happened to my wife. At that moment, I knew it was in God's hands. All I could do was wait and pray for that. But I could do something about my business. And I made a decision right then to go on a journey to learn creative ways to survive. Today, I'm going to teach you the things that I learned that not only saved me from bankruptcy, but made me more money than I've ever made in my entire life. Now, before we get into everything, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Alexander Nouveau. I built and I operate now 3 businesses. One's an executive branding service. A second is a real estate lead generation company. The third one is Nouveau Startups, which is helping other businesses become multi-million-dollar success stories. Going back in time, I was a little bit of an odd duck growing up. Instead of watching sports, I was obsessed with business and consulting. Imagine a 12-year-old talking about investing. That was me. I read books about my hero, Warren Buffett, and would read anything to do with investing. I was that kind of nerd. It's great. In 2015, while sitting at Starbucks, minding my own business, by the way, I was picked up by a girl who would later become my wife. Now, she denies picking me up, but I keep telling her that it was her fault that she sat down next to me, and not my fault that I started up a conversation with her. A year into meeting her, we started to dream about our future. We wanted what every couple wants, a house, a family, a life worth living. But all those dreams cost money, a lot of money. And looking at my career, I didn't think I could get there in a 9-to-5 job. So I quit my job and started a few businesses. As you can imagine, some of them failed. I fell flat on my face, but some of them stuck. And that brings us to March of 2020, when, like most business owners, I suffered the worst moments in my business career. Thousands of dollars in bills, no customers, no prospects. I had to get creative, I had to hustle, and I had to figure out how to rub 2 sticks together and create gold. And that brings us to you. If you're here today, you may be here for a few different reasons. You may want to earn a decent living. You might just want to build a business that you're doing something you love and just make enough to feel comfortable. You also, on the other side of things, you may want to build a world-class business. You want to build an empire, something that's multi-million, multi-billion, and you want to change the world, be wealthy, and give back, which is great. You also might just want flexibility. 9 to 5 is hard when you have a family. And so having your own business lets you control your schedule, but still earn a decent living. Regardless of what your dream is, we're all here for one reason, which is to live your dream life. And your business should be enabling that dream life, okay? Now, running a business is hard. I'll list out some of the common pain points you're facing. And you can respond in the chat if you've got some of these. So you're either feasting or you're famining or having a famine. And what that means is you're either having a lot of customers that you don't know what to do with, and then some months you have nothing, or you're making $0 or have very few customers. There's no predictability. That's the problem. Or worse, you're starving all the time. And what that means is you're not getting enough money to pay your bills, and there's barely anything left to live on at the end of that money. Or you're feeling analysis paralysis. There's lots of options out there, not sure what to do, and that's kind of how you're feeling right now. The other one is feeling stuck. You've tried a lot of different things and nothing you seem to do works. Your business is just plateaued. This is some of the worst kind of feelings. Regardless of the pain points, you're all here to learn ways to grow your business. So today you're going to learn how to find your best customers. We're going to do that case study I promised. We're going to talk about how to structure your business and how to stand out by the competition by creating an offer so good customers would feel silly saying no to it. We're first going to start with Amex. And I want to give you an example of a company that has way fewer customers, but way more profit per customer. Now, without going into too much detail, here's a look at the raw numbers of American Express versus their peers. And we're going to keep this simple, very easy and simple to understand. Just in the United States, Visa has 343 million cards, a lot more than people in the United States. MasterCard has 249 million, that's a lot too. Amex, 53.8 million, that's a lot less. That's like Visa and MasterCard, that's 7 times and 5 times the amount of customers. Okay. Now, for the inexperienced person, you might look at those numbers and say, wow, it must be great to be Visa or MasterCard. Well, that's true. It's better to be Amex. Here's why. When we look at the amount of revenue per customer, Visa makes $21 per customer, which is pretty good. MasterCard makes $18 per customer. Now, I want everybody to participate in the chat. I want you to take a guess at how much American Express is making per customer. Is it 25? Is it 50? Is it more? And the other thing is I want to make sure you can test the chat to make sure it works. So if you're having trouble responding in the chat, okay, it looks like Cindy says 250. We got Susan's 40, 50, 150. Come on, everybody, you can guess 50. I just want to see what the group thinks is what they're making. 100. Okay. So far the range is between the high end is 250, low is 40, 65. We're kind of getting guesses in that area. All right. Are you ready to fall off your chair? Yeah. $366. Wow. Doesn't that blow your socks off? Diane's like, yeah, I want to own that company. Yeah, that's how you do it. Amex is the clear winner here. They have less customers, but they have 16 times the revenue per customer. It's a lot. Now ask yourself this question, and this is rhetorical. I want you to think about yourself. Would you rather, option 1, have more customers who like your company, or have less customers that love your company and are way more profitable? Well, I don't know about you, but I want option 2 because I want to make more money and have less customers. So why is it that most businesses are trying to win every customer instead of focusing just on the most profitable ones? Yeah, never think about that, right? The point I'm trying to make here is that it pays in profits to focus on a smaller group of your best customers. This is the group, and everyone here knows this. Y'all have your customers that you love, that you love working with. You name a price, they pay it, they pay you on time, they're easy to work with. And we also know on the other side of things, if you're dealing with customers that are hard to work with and unprofitable, how nice would it be? Wouldn't you love being able to say no thanks and not work with them? One of my favorite quotes from Dan Kennedy is this: customers are either welcome guests or annoying pests. Sometimes people don't know that you can say that. Sometimes we feel if we own a business, we have to serve everybody and we have to like everybody. We have to bend over backwards to serve the customer. No. They're either welcome guests who are easy to work with and you love working with, or you can say, nah, no thanks, and you can send them to your competitors. Point is, if you're trying to serve everyone, you're going to have an annoying and unprofitable business. Now, I have to admit to you guys that when I first started my businesses, I tried to serve everybody. And what I had was a business that stressed me out. I missed family gatherings on the weekends. I couldn't hang out with friends. My wife was like, we can never plan a vacation because you're always trying to open a business. And it wasn't until I banged my head against the wall for years trying to serve everyone where I realized I could just raise prices and get rid of all the customers who I don't want. And I worked half the amount and made the same and more. So if this is your business, the question I always ask people that helps people make a decision is, if you have a business where you have annoying customers that are taking up all your time, but like not want to pay anything, do you want to live like this for another 10 years? Do you? Because I don't. So if you don't want to live like this for 10 years, it's time to make a change. Okay. This is why you're here in this presentation, to learn new things and apply it. Lesson to be learned here is be more like Amex. Focus on your best customers. Ignore everybody else. Let them take their business to one of your competitors instead. I promise you, it's the best gift you can give to your competitors, because you give them the annoying ones and you get to keep all the good ones yourself. This is the one thing that can literally double your profits. Why? Because if you make the same amount of money, but you have less customers, you're doing half the work for the same. So if somebody offered you more money, but only having to do half the work, would you say no to that? Of course not. You'd say yes in a heartbeat. Okay. So this is what I'm saying here. Okay. Now, it sounds great. Now you've been on the path with me and you said, yes, I'm on board. I want to have my best customers. But then you run into the next big problem that pretty much every single business person has run into. That's called the commodity problem. Now, this is usually the main culprit why businesses aren't making any money. When I say money, I mean profit, because it doesn't matter what you're bringing in top line. It matters what you're making after you pay all your expenses. Your take home is all that matters. You can make $1 million in revenue, but if you're making 10,000 a year, it doesn't matter. You see my point? So I'll give you an example of how the commodity problem works so you can understand this, because whenever I teach people, what I want you to be able to do is I want you to remember these stories and these things so you can incorporate in this business, because that's what matters the most here. So I'll give you a really simple example. Let's say you're driving down the street and you need some gas. Okay. On the right side of the street, there are two options. So I'm saying the right side of the street because it's equally convenient to get to either option. They're virtually the same. You see one gas station offering gas for $3.75 and the other gas station for $3.74. All being equal, same convenience, all the things. Which one do you choose? Option B, the $3.74, because there's no benefit for you paying more, so you choose to pay less, right? Yeah, that's the commodity problem. Now here's why it sucks for being a business. You'll see why this matters in a second. Let's say that you're a plumber who works a 9-to-5 job, and you decide one day that you quit your job to decide because you want to open a plumbing business. Now for pricing, when you do your research, you look at the market, which is other plumbers, to see what they're charging. And then you want to offer the same kind of work, but you're going to charge less for it because you want to win customers. So you say, okay, those plumbers are charging $100. They're giving 3 services. I'm going to do 3 services. And I'm going to charge 90, which is $10 less. And I'm going to add a freebie on top of it. So I'm going to do 4 services for $90. So your offer becomes, I offer customers a little more and they pay a little less. That sounds like the common strategy people think about, right? Okay. So this is where it starts to hurt. And then you get to work plumbing and you start winning lots of new customers. It's great. You're in business. You got money. You're doing work. But then a few months go by and you start getting fewer customers. You kind of try to figure out what's going on. So you call around to other plumbers and you find out that most of them matched your prices and added the extra service. So now they are charging $90 for 4 services. And on top of that, there's 3 new plumbers who opened up their businesses last few months. And they're now charging $80 for 5 services, which is 1 more that you're providing and $10 less. So you drop your prices to $80. You decide that you're going to work harder, you do 5 services. This happens a few more times, and all of a sudden you're only charging $50 and you're providing way too many services. Now, here's where it hurts. After paying your bills, You realize there's barely anything left when you only charge $50. You start having to dip into your savings to meet ends meet. And you hope that next month will be different. Things don't change. You start to ask yourself, what's happening? Why is this happening to me? You're a hard worker, so you put even more hours in. You're working 80 hours, 90 hours, 100 hours a week. You drop your hobbies. You miss your son's baseball game. Your friends and loved ones start to become strangers. Despite everything you do, your business is not making any money and you're out of ideas. It's so unfair. You just want to make a good living. You want to do good work and feed your family. Why is this happening? Sadly, this business owner became victim of the commodity problem. And I want to make sure when I told that story, I want to make sure you felt that, because if you haven't felt that as a business owner, that's something that happens to a lot of us when we start businesses, okay? And if that's you and that's your life, understand that there is a way to solve it. I'm going to talk about that next, but this is such a common problem that when you hear the statistics that 50% of businesses go out of business within a few years, one of the main reasons why. Problem is, when your product or service is perceived as a commodity, customers will choose a lower price option when they think something is the same. So this problem keeps profit margins thin and it makes it really hard to make an actual living. And here's the problem. If your business is viewed as commodity, it means you're going to struggle to make the kind of profits that will be life-changing. It'll make it hard to scale and you can't even hire staff. So how do you fix it? Well, you fix it with your offer. Wait, an offer? What do you mean an offer? What's wrong with it? Okay. An offer is very simple. You're presenting something to a customer that's going to begin a commercial relationship. It means you're offering a product or service for a price. It's an offer in exchange. So in the gas station example, they advertise the gas for $3.74 and you make a purchase. Okay. And that person becomes your customer. Normal businesses have very simple, basic offers that make it easy to compare apples to apples. Now, here's what I want you to think to yourself. Whenever you see apples to apples, you want to run. You never want to be able to apples to apples. And here's why. Go back to the plumber example. Plumber A charges $100 for 3 services. Plumber B is 90 for 3 plus an extra. And in this case, no one makes any real money because each plumber is constantly having to slash the prices, because the customers perceive the customers as being equal. So why would they go with somebody else? And as much as you may argue otherwise, your customers are doing the same to your business. You're being commoditized, and it happens to all industries: gas, plumbers, SaaS-based businesses, startups, everything. It's true for mature markets like plumbing. So think about it. It even happens in employment. Think about it like this. When you say, let's say you're an accountant and you want to find a job. Well, they say, are you a junior person just starting out? Are you intermediate? Are you advanced? Are you experienced? How many years of experience do you have? And then they're like, the entry-level accountant makes, I don't know, 70 to 80,000. I'm making this up. 70 to 80,000, intermediate, 100 to 150, whatever. But my point is, that's a commodity. They're saying, hey, yeah, you've got different grades of how good you are, but this is the max that you can make. You can commoditize. Now, we are so used to being in a commoditized world that we don't think about it like that. We're not like, we're born into commodities. Even our jobs are commodities. Our businesses are commodities. Well, how do I get out of it? Because I don't know about you, but I don't I don't work at a job because I own businesses, but how do I make $1 million? Why do I want to be compared to everybody else? I want to be different. Same thing with you. Do you want to make what everyone else is making? You could probably talk to your Square mentors. What you'll find out is most businesses are broke. Most of them are making barely any money and they're struggling to survive. Some of them are successful and thriving, but a lot of them are struggling. That's why we do these presentations, because I want to make sure you're not struggling, okay? And doesn't matter what it is, even businesses you think that we're making money, like you may say, oh man, lawyers are killing it. Well, if you look, I've actually seen their salaries and salary data. If you look at it, most of the lawyers are not making any money. They're barely struggling to pay their bills. And then there's some of them on way other side are making a lot. They've got a double bell curve in there. I'm not going to get too complicated, but any business that you see out there, and this distribution happens across everything, there is the 1% of businesses that are thriving and being way more profitable, way more exceptional than everybody else. There's probably 4 to 5% is doing pretty well. 5% is doing okay. And then the 80% below, they're barely making a living and they're struggling. So do you want to be in the bottom 80% that's struggling to make a living? No, you want to be thriving and be successful. So if you understand the commodity problem, the next thing is say, I want out. I want to be the 1%. Because here's the thing. When you work as your own company, you have a decision. You're not commoditized like being an employee at a company. You have the decision, the actions that you take, and the decisions you make. You can be the 1% of successful businesses out there that thrive and are so good. People are looking at you and saying, what are you doing? And if you have to get to make that decision, these are the kind of things that change your destiny and change the way you think. Because realistically, at the end of the day, if you're running a business, running a business is hard. You go to a job, they give you a W-2. When you have a business, you have to find the customer, you have to do the work, you have to get insurance to cover your work, you have to do the bookkeeping to do all your taxes. It's making money with extra steps. So do you want to make the same amount of money you can make as an employee? No. If you're going to go through all the work of being a self-employed, owning a business, you should be making outsized gains. You should be making 5, 10 times more than people who are working full-time, because you have the courage to have and the intestinal fortitude to do the things that they're not doing. So if you're going to be that person and own a business, you better be compensated for your work. And so that means thinking differently and acting differently, because if you try to copy whatever else is doing, they're broke. You need to be runaway successful. You need to be so good that they're asking, how do I be more like you? And that's what we're talking about today. So the next thing is the offer. Now, if you want to make real money, you need to create an offer so good that customers would feel stupid saying no to it. Here's an example of a slam dunk offer. Now, I'm going to give multiple examples. This one's just my favorite of all time. I mean, all time is pretty big, because I don't know if I'm going to like one in the future, but it's one of my favorite. When I study it all the time because it just is so captivating. So here's the story of this offer. In Las Vegas, this is like the 80s or 90s, there was a casino that was the worst performer on the strip. A new CEO took over and said, we got to do something. We got to get more customers and turn things around. So he decided to make a slam dunk offer that was so good, people couldn't refuse. Here's the slam dunk offer. Y'all ready? For $397, I will give you a 3-day, 2-night hotel stay at our casino. Also, you will get all the alcohol you want anytime, anywhere on the property. Diane's already in. Also, you can have all the food you want anywhere. And, you guys ready? To top it off, I will give you $1,000 of our own money at the casino to gamble. Now, if you heard that, would you book it? I would. Of course you would. It's an amazing offer, okay? Now, why did the offer make sense from the customer perspective, and why did it make sense from the casino's perspective? Well, first, when you sold it, they get paid all that $397 or $399 up front. And people don't show up for at least a year or 6 or 8 or a year and a half, right? Meaning they didn't have to pay a dime in fulfillment. You didn't pay any staff, pay any cost of having somebody there until later. Also, when you have this bucket of money, let's say you make this offer, you sell 10,000, you get $4 million deposited in your bank account today. Well, I could spend that on more marketing. I can hire staff. I can beef up the business. A lot of money to get on one day, okay? And it got people into the casino. Now, here's the thing. I say that, people gamble, they lose money, and but really, if we ignored that part about the gambling thing, they still made money on selling other things, because when you get to the casino, they make you another offer, because they don't just sell you one offer. They sell you 2, 3, 4. When you get there, they're like, here's other offers of things you can do in Vegas. Here's our shows that you can do. Here's all these things that they can sell. And so virtually what happened was they made more money per customer because they had more offers, and they just got the person in the door. And here's the other thing. When you sell 100 of these tickets, how many people will the 100 actually show up? I guarantee you it's not 100. The actual number is 80%. So 20% of people just hand you money and they walk away. How nice would it be? I've had that happen in my business. People just buy stuff and they never come back. It happens. Okay. Now, the key thing to learn here is that you need to be creative and come up with a slam dunk offer that does 2 things. Okay. Number 1, it has to be so amazing customers would just need to jump on it. And two, it has to make business sense. So in the example of the casino, I shared why it was so important. They're not doing anything for years. They get to sell the money, make interest, buy all this stuff. And then when the people do come, they sell a bunch of other things. And so they're more profitable on visits. They make more money per customer than everybody else. And also the gambling thing is icing on the cake. So it has to make sense to the customer, it has to make sense for you as a business. And you can't just give away a bunch of stuff for free at a loss. Has to be great from both perspectives. Now, when you build a slam dunk offer, here's what's going to happen. You will 10x your sales because your offer is so amazing it stands out. People will line up to buy it. It will double your profits because your offer will be insanely more profitable because of all the other things you sell on top of it. It's not the first offer that matters. Like, think about this. Let's say you go to a grocery store and there's one item that's really good price that gets you in there. Well, who here just buys one thing when they go to the grocery store? Nobody. Everyone buys more stuff. You go to the grocery store, you walk out with a cart full of stuff. Okay. So me as the business, do I care about this one item I lost money on, or do I care about the other 100 things I sold you I made a buttload of profit on? You see? So offers are really important here, but it has to make business sense. And then, I mean, literally double it. I mean, when you have an opportunity to sell a thing, that's where you make your real money with other stuff. Yeah. Okay. So, and I will give once we get to the Q&A session, I will provide other examples of offers, because there's the offer like this one has, and the other side of the token is the person who has an offer, a company that has an offer that's double the cost, or 5 times the cost, or 20 times the cost of whatever the average is. I run a business where I charge 20 times the average of what everyone else is charging. And I'll tell you more about that when we get to the end. Make sure to ask questions, but we'll come back to it because there's just not enough time in the presentation to cover those, but I do give a lot of examples when we do the question section. Next thing I want to talk about is called the one domino. And it comes from Tim Ferriss, author of the 4-Hour Workweek. And this thing is very incredible. It's a very powerful way of thinking about stuff. So at a conference, Tim Ferriss was asked about his morning routine. His routine was different than everybody else's, and kind of piqued everybody's interest. So instead of getting to work immediately and grinding all day like everyone else, like think about yourself. You probably wake up, you check your phone, your text message, your email, all that stuff. You do something different. His routine was this. He'd wake up late, enjoy his morning coffee, go on a walk, journal, ponder about his life challenges. And he asked himself one question every day. What's the one thing, one big thing, the one domino that I can knock over that will change everything else in my life and move things forward? All he asks. Once he figures it out, he puts all of his effort toward knocking over that domino. The incredible, powerful way of thinking, and saves time moving forward. Because let me ask you this. Who here wakes up to the day and you feel like you got 20 fires you got to put out? Yeah. And when you put out the fires, it's the end of the day. You made no progress. So what if you could do one thing that not only put out all the fires before they started, but also change your business and move things forward? Would you want to do that thing? Yeah, that's the domino I'm talking about. So rather than focus on busy work like everyone else, Tim would just focus on the things that would make big changes. And the idea here is once he figures out the domino, all the other dominoes start to fall over too. You can do this thing for yourself. This is the dominoes. This is what I mean. You push one over, everything else falls down. For you, what's the one domino that will change? To truly help you, I have to help you figure out what the domino is and knock it over in a way where it will change everything. So what's the domino? Well, I'm giving it a lot of thought. I've looked at some of the most successful people in the world. Steve Jobs, Michael Jordan, Leonardo da Vinci. It's 500 years ago. They all had one thing in common. They all had multiple Yodas. For those non-Star Wars fans, that means they had several guides, coaches, mentors, people who were in their corner, who helped them. These are people who believed in them and saw their potential. People who took their raw talent and developed them into the best versions of themselves in the world. The key I want to point out to you is that they had several mentors, not just one. You're going to need different people in a wide variety of topics to help you. Also, this is a plug for SCORE. The educational opportunities are amazing. SCORE is awesome. Sign up for more events. You're getting a mentor in a box in 60 minutes. Okay, awesome. You're going to need smart people who are world-class in their area of expertise to guide you. You don't want the average, you want the best. That's what, remember what I said, you can be the 1% or you can be the non-1% who are not making anything and struggling. I want to be the best and most successful. So why do I say this? Because being a business owner is hard. It's probably one of the hardest things you can do in your life, okay? And here's the thing I always tell people. Imagine for a second you had to climb the stairs of a building that's 1,000 stories tall. Think about that. Not 10 stories, 1,000. Oh my goodness, right? Probably take you all day to get the top and you'd be exhausted. Now imagine there's 5,000 of these things. And you got to do it in 1 year. There's not enough time in the day to do it. It's not. You can't do it. It's impossible. What if, on the other hand, you had a helicopter that would take you to the top of each building in 5 minutes? Well, you could probably pull it off, right? That helicopter would make things a lot easier. So that helicopter is the example of your Yodas, your mentors I was telling you about earlier. These are people who get you results and they walk you through challenges faster. What would you rather do? Take 10 years to grow to $1 million and put in 80-hour weeks, make tons of mistakes and lose your spouse and family? This is climbing by yourself. Or get there in a year or two with a group of trusted advisors helping you. Still working hard, but seeing a heck of a lot more progress and getting there faster. I don't know about you, but I want to go there faster with less hassle and less work. Because really, at the end of the day, here's what I ask. What matters is outcomes. So think about it like this. If somebody offered you a green pill that you could take, and with absolute certainty, and I'm saying absolute, you knew 100% you could go to sleep the next night and wake up with $1 million in your bank account, would you take it? Of course. You take a pill, you drink it, it's done, and you wake up. So you see what I'm saying? So the only thing that matters is outcomes. You don't get extra credit if you spend 10 years driving on different mountains and doing random stuff to get the result where you could have just taken a pill and gotten there. That's my point. So looking at what you need to do, the person who is going to be successful, the person who makes it to the 1% of the most successful businesses, realizes that they can't do it themselves. And by the way, I can't tell you, this lesson was learned by me the hard way. I was the guy who knew everything and was know-it-all, and I banged my head against the wall until the universe taught me that I didn't. And if I go back in time, I would convince myself to be more like this and get multiple mentors, because it was a heck of a lot easier the next time I did it with my other businesses because of the experience and the people I had on my team. Okay. Now, the next thing is a danger of this problem. And I call it, I haven't come up with a good name for it. I'm trying to, I think it's called the common sense dilemma. I'm still working on the name, but I'll just describe what the problem is. So, and I'll give you a story to explain it. So back in 2017, I bought my wife a dog. Her name's Nuggie. She's perfect. This is me and Nuggie when I first met her. I mean, like, if you saw this dog at the shelter, would you not get this dog? Like, look at this. She still, by the way, she still does this. Whenever you pet her head, she still does this thing where she looks up, and I mean, it's amazing. And by the way, you don't see this, but she also peed on my shoes. So I'm like, I guess she marked her territory. Anyway, so as a puppy, Nuggie had some behavioral challenges. Now, she'd pull on a leash and she'd bite, that's what puppies do, okay? But we're worried because if you don't kick the behavior out of them, if you don't get the behavior out of them, what if she bit somebody? Also on walks, Nuggie would pull hard, and my wife was concerned about being injured. You know, she's, 5'2", and this dog pulls really hard. What if she gets injured? And then gets away and bites somebody, all these things. And so we're like, all right, we'll figure out how to fix this. So we did tons of research. We watched videos and tried everything to fix the biting and pulling. We watched every video out there, read every blog, listened to all these different influencers, all saying the same thing. They said, this is common sense. This is how it's done. Guess what? None of it worked. The common sense was worthless. Then we said, all right, we'll try PetSmart's training and see if it helps. We'll take her to some training classes. Nuggie learned some tricks about her about a month of training, but still had some issues. We paid $50, nothing changed. It wasn't until we found Unleashed Unlimited that our lives changed. Now, Unleashed Unlimited in Austin, Texas, has a very strong beliefs about dog training and has a very, I won't say very controversial, but they are controversial in their approach. And we were skeptical because they pretty much told us that they'd train our dog 3 hours, 3 one-hour sessions that cost $500. And I mean, it's 10 times the price. PetSmart's 50, they're 500, but the testimonials, reviews, they were exceptional. So we said, all right, let's do it. We signed up. How many sessions do you think it took to fix? After one session, our dog was changed. It was incredible. Now, the point that I want to make here from this experience, and this has guided me when I look at other things, is that common advice that everyone's doing and everyone repeating doesn't work. If 80% of the people out there are average, having average results and not making any money or being successful in the business, do you want to copy what they're doing? No, you don't. So you have to be careful with when you listen to, you got to find mentors who are world class. And a lot of times the advice they're going to give you is going to be different than what everyone else is doing because everyone else is failing. You don't want to be like that. So I give this as a caution. And I've had numerous experiences where this has been the case. And I don't have time to talk about this in this presentation, but I thought the dog one was a really good one to just express the differences when you find somebody who's world class and know what they're doing versus what everyone says is common sense and what says is plausible and what says what should be working doesn't work. So anyway, wrapping up, and we'll go to questions after I get through this too. So in today's workshop, we went over why it was better to be the Amex than Visa and MasterCard, and how they make more profit per customer and have a way easier job. We talked about how when you ruthlessly focus on your best customer, you will repel the folks you don't want and gift them to your competitors. We also talked about slam dunk offers and how they are the best way to escape the commodity problem. Finally, we covered the one domino, which is the thing that you need to think about how to knock over your business and find. And my answer is finding world-class mentors to help you. If you enjoyed today's workshop, I'll provide some resources so you can continue learning. First is my website. I've got a blog on there. I'm redoing the videos right now, but you can check it out. Most of my stuff is about sales and marketing because, and this is something I talk with all the SCORE workshop chairs about, which is this topic is very valuable to me because I am a SCORE success story. I'm a SCORE client and I was in your shoes years ago. And so the reason why some of this should be hitting home more is because I was in your shoes. I am you 5 years ago. Okay. So when I talk about this stuff, when I talk about these ideas, I know what it was like to not make any money and have to go into my savings and work 80 hours a week and be in tears because I couldn't pay the bills. You know what it's like. So I'm making content to help. Okay. Yeah. The other thing is when I was in your shoes, when I went to events, I mean, most of the time they were in person because that was the time we were at before 2020. Whenever there was a speaker at an event, I would sprint to the back of the room and I would barrage that person with questions and pick the speaker's brain. Why? Because now at that point, I knew that you find people who know what they're talking about, you pick their brain because you're never going to get that otherwise. Like you're going to meet people and they're going to have good ideas and you want to ask as many questions as you can because that's how you learn. That's how you get ahead. So typically when a group does workshops in person, you could have done the same for me. With virtual workshops, it's a bit different because you don't really have that natural community. So what I'll do is I will open myself up to virtual coffees for anybody attending. And that's for people who are live or watching the recording. And if you want to do the same thing and do the same thing I used to do, I'll put the link in the chat too for everybody. Now, my only requirement for setting up time, I just put the link in the chat. My only requirement there is that you've got the motivation and desire to grow your business. And if you got that, if that's what you want to do, then I'm open to chatting with you and doing what those speakers did for me. And with that, we'll open it up for questions. And if you guys want, I can tell you some more examples of some offers too. I'll just start there too, because I think the offers are really helpful. So let's talk about offers. And there's two schools of thoughts. I mean, and you have to pick the right one for your business. One is similar to the one that the casino in Las Vegas did, which is here's all this stuff, get the customer in and focus on getting more things in the customer's cart and serving the customer more and more value, which is perfect. The other side of it is what I do in my businesses. And so one of my businesses is an executive branding service. And I charge $5,000 minimum per customer. And then it's a commodity pricing market. The average person charges around $300. So it's a lot more than what everyone else is charging. Now, why am I able to charge more? Well, it's because I focus on my best customers. My service is specialized and I only focus on a certain small category of customers. And when they see my marketing and they come to me and they set up sales calls with me, they know exactly what I do and what I don't. And I'm a specialist. My company's a specialist. And the value proposition is the exchange, what I offer them is way more. So they make the exchange. Now, I've had people come up to me who are in that industry and they say to me, I'm not joking here. They say, you are charging way more. I'm as good as you are. I only charge the customer a fifth of that, or 10 times less than that. They should just come to me. You're unethical for charging that much. And I'm like, I've got a group of customers lined up around the block to work with me. So if they know that your price is what it is and what my prices are, and they choose to work with me, they made the right decision because of how I presented myself. But by the way, that took me years to get the confidence to even raise the prices that high, because it's scary when you're in a commodity business. You're like, if I raise prices, I lose it. So you have to be specialist. So I'll give you a sub-example of this, how this works. So imagine there's a group of law called elder law, which is dealing with Americans over a certain age, usually over 65. And there's a lot of legal stuff there. Well, immediately, knowing that there's a law category, you know that anybody participating in that is probably a commodity, because that's how it works. You call 3 lawyers, you see the prices, and you determine which one. Well, if you want to get out of the commodity problem, you specialize more. So one lawyer said, well, I typically only work with people who are of Alzheimer's cases. And so I want to stand out in my marketing and my offers. So I'm going to call my office Alzheimer's Law. Now, if you're a child of a parent who's got Alzheimer's, which one is going to grab your attention? One that just does elder law, or one that's called Alzheimer's Law, which is exactly what you need? And then when you talk to them and they say, we specialize just on this, our prices are 50% higher because we specialize. Well, I don't know about you, but I buy value, and I want to talk to people who specialize in a certain thing, because the person who's a generalist probably is going to make mistakes. So that's an example. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be an attorney. Like, this is any category. I'll give you another one. There's another company that they are plumbers. So let's use my plumbing example of how they escaped it. They only do bathroom renovations. And you know what they do? They charge double or triple what everyone else charges. Why? And why do people buy it? Because think about this. If somebody's going to remodel your bathroom, if there's a leak or they make a mistake, when are you going to find out about that leak or problem? Is it going to be months? Maybe years? Is it going to be until you have a mold problem? Think about the disasters can happen when you do a remodel on a bathroom. And so they specialize in it. This is all they do. And when you specialize on one thing, and this is all you do, all your staff are the best, you start winning all the rewards, you have all the recognition in the community, you have only 5 stars, you provide a top-notch service. When presented with an offer by a customer, do you want the best? Yes, we're double or triple because we are the best. Or do you want the average person who does, we do repairs, we do this, we do that? Who do you want? Do you want the specialist, or do you want the person who this is just part of what we do, and we're kind of mediocre at it? Well, customers buy value. They focus on their best customer and they get the sales, and they pay their staff more. They make more profit. They dominate their industry, and that's how they operate. And so that's why I was saying there's two aspects of it. Now, I gave you service examples, but this stuff happens with products too. If you have a website, a lot of times when you're advertising product, a lot of times people will offer, hey, you guys have seen this before. You offer something for, hey, get a free item, just pay shipping. Well, your job as a person advertising is, once somebody buys that in their cart, you got to get them upsells. You got to make them offers where you increase the average order size. And the money is not made, depending on the business model. There's one thing that matters to you, okay? And this is something that matters a lot. And it's another quote from Dan Kennedy. The company that can make the most, the company that can spend the most on acquiring a customer wins. Let me tell you a story. So I had a person I was talking to about trying to compete. He's got a web hosting service, and he's like, I'm doing Google Ads, but I can't compete because GoDaddy is, advertising, paying $100 for somebody to click on their website. And I'm like, he's like, I only sell my thing for $15. How do I do that? And I'm like, well, you have to be more like GoDaddy, and you have to have so much value you can spend all that money to acquire a customer. Now, that's a big company example, but the way you want to look at it is, If your competitors can only make $100 from a customer in their lifetime, well, they can only spend up to $100 to acquire that customer, or less than that, 50. But if you make $2,000 from the customer, you can spend more on acquiring customers than they do, which means you can advertise in more places, you can raise the cost of advertising, you can do all these things. If you want to be the 1% of successful businesses, you have to think like that. How do I add more value to my customer so I can make more per customer? Because really, at the end of the day, that's only matters. Like in my service, when I make $5,000 and they make only 300, I probably spend, well, I already know, I spend more money on acquiring customers than they can even make from the customer entirely. And so my business wins because I can spend more to acquire a customer. And by the way, I'm giving you examples of my own businesses so you can see the success, and I'm also giving you some other ones so you can see other success as well, because this stuff works across industries. Because I can't tell you how often people come to me and say, oh, well, it's not going to work in my industry, we're different. And I'm like, okay, let's make some changes and let's see some results and changes. Okay, so I hope those examples were helpful. I'll open it up for questions, and please don't be shy. If you don't ask questions, you don't learn.
One of the things that I always did in my business, I never discounted. When they would say, a client would say, well, we got a lower price from somebody else. Okay, that's great. But you know what? I'm worth it. And I think you'll be surprised when you go with that person, they may not feel as good. So we do have we have one question from Cindy. How do you feel about networking groups?
Just depends. It just depends. And so when you think about cultivating network referral sources, they're not all created equal. So some of them, what you're going to find is if you have 100 people that could possibly refer your business, probably 5 of them are referring all the time, the other 95 are every once in a while. So doing networking groups, it depends on the business model. So, if your business relies on referrals, like for example, I have an occupational therapist I'm working with, she relies on referrals from doctors. Well, you need to go network with doctors and build a relationship, but you have to be shock and awe. Like when I tell her to go places, I want her bringing a cup with some candy and getting her face out there and then making sure they remember her. Well, that's how you do it. Now, if you're in a group where people say, oh yeah, we might refer you, we might not, then it's not required. A lot of people join networking groups. So Cindy, and I'm not going to beat you. I don't want you to feel like I'm beating you up or anything, but I don't want to beat you up or anything, Cindy, but a lot of times people do networking groups because they feel like that they don't, it's not comfortable to go directly and make sales or do like sales activity, like cold calling or building marketing campaigns. And doing networking things feels like you're doing something, but it's one of those things. I see. Haven't found them to be value. So you're experiencing what I'm saying, which is
Right.
They don't really do anything unless they're very specific. Yeah.
I suggested to a new client, a notary, that she go door to door to lawyers, to real estate agents, but bring a box of chocolate, bring something, have your business card pasted on that. They're going to remember the person that brought them something rather than the person that brought them a business card.
Yeah, and it's reciprocity. I can't even say the word. It's reciprocity. I can never say that word. If somebody gives you a gift, you want to return the favor, give them a gift back. And
well, you kind of owe them,
powerful.
don't you?
Yeah. I work with a flooring girl who does flooring, and I was like, why don't you bring like a $10 mug with candy in it to your appointments? And she started doing it, and immediately people started buying from her. Like she quote $1,000 buyer, and they're like, yeah, well, I like you more, and I like your process. I'm going to buy from you. Yeah. That $10 got her a deal that she was $1,000 higher than her competitors.
You betcha. And I have clients who say, oh, but $10 is so much money. I said, how much money do you anticipate making from this client over the long term? $10
exactly.
To acquire a client. Jamie saying she missed a major part of this. Yes, you are going to be getting this recording, and you're going to be getting the slides. And James is concerned about your wife. How's she doing?
Oh, she's great. I kind of left you guys at high drama, didn't I? Well, I do that because I want to get your attention. But she was in the hospital for a few hours, and it was very scary. And she's on the cusp of them making her stay, or getting to go home. And luckily they made the decision that, because she, when you get COVID at that time, you also got pneumonia too.
Right.
And luckily it was the bacterial kind. So they said to us, look, we can go home if you're okay, but you have to take this medicine. And if you don't get better, you have to come back. We have to put you in the breathing tube stuff. We didn't want that. So,
No.
luckily, thank God, after another 10 days of being on the medicine, she started to recover, made a full recovery. But holy crap, that was scary.
That was a scary time because we didn't
Yeah.
know so much. Not that we know a lot now, but
Yeah, yeah. But being the
Mm.
first one of the first in the country, to give you an idea how early this was, we went to the
Yeah.
hospital.
Yeah.
None of the nurses and doctors were wearing masks.
Nice.
This is
Okay.
before they had masks on. That's how early it
Right.
was.
Right,
And
right.
so, yeah. Yeah, the
Could you give an example of a domino? You were talking about moving the domino, pushing that first domino. Like, if you were contemplating your day, could you give us an example of what one domino would be that would help you?
yeah, so a lot of times the biggest problem businesses have is they want more customers, more leads, more clients. And so you don't have the skills on, a lot of times nobody teaches you how to become good at sales or how to be good at marketing. And so, one of the things you want to do is you want to think about, okay, well, how do I find somebody who's good at sales that I can learn from and teach? Because learning sales, most people do it. I'll give you my flooring girl, for example. So she was doing order taking commodity problems. So her order used to be, she'd go in and she'd say, okay, let me measure your flooring, I'll give you a quote. Well, everyone else was doing that. And so they would say, I got 3 bids, this one's the lowest, I'm gonna go with the lowest one. So what I did instead, I said, we're gonna change some minor things to make the sales better for you. I said, instead of doing that, do this instead. So bring a gift with you. Instead of going to get the measurements, to say to them, hey, can we sit down and talk for a little bit so I can get to know you better and figure out what you need. And then she asked them a series of questions to figure out their what they need and their dreams. And what happened was, when she did that, she brought a gift, she changed her process, she got more results. Now she could have kept on banging her head against the wall, but she found a mentor that could help her. And so that's why I'm saying, find mentors that can help you on stuff. So that's why I'm saying it's so important to have people you can learn from, because how else are you going to learn unless you have people help? There's different, you can learn from presentations like this, but really if you don't have a mentor, you got to grab one, because you're just, instead of having to bang your head against the wall to get to the top of the 1,000-story building, they just give you the answer to the top. Now, there's other things you can do. Like in this presentation, I talked about how to make it business suck less. Bring in your best customers and do what Diane said, which is never discount. Why would you discount? Because customers want value. If you discount to the customer, you're telling them that you're not as good as you say you are, and you are good as you say you are. So never discount them.
Okay.
John Baker asks, would you suggest?
Hopefully I'm sharing my screen. That was great, Alexandra. I think that you inspired many of our participants to think things differently, think about things differently, right? And approach things differently. I would encourage you all to visit our website, score.org/Minnesota. There you can request a mentor, sign up for other workshops, or search our database. And lastly, I want to tell you that you're going to be getting a survey. And this survey, we'd love if you would take a moment to fill in the survey. One of the questions, the first question is going to be, what did you think of Alexandra's presentation? And that's on a scale of 1 to 10. Remember, 10 is good, 1 is bad. So let's see if we can hit those 9s and 10s, or, if you could put in a higher number, but actually you can't. So whatever you feel. And because I'm the education chair, I'm always interested in what other topics might you be interested in hearing about. Alexandra was great. Do you need help with financial reports? Do you need help with marketing? What do you need help with? Please let me know. So here's a nice little QR code we designed for you if you want to if you want to request a mentor, so you can bypass the website. We have a few more things in the chat. Anything that we should know about?
Oh, and if you didn't have a chance to answer your question, feel free to run back to the back of the room and talk with me, virtual coffee if you like. I'm available for anybody who needs help. And I'll put the link in the chat one more time for everybody. And then
Here's an interesting question. Do you ever offer an annual meal for the best customers? You know, kind of a party, I guess, for best customers.
It all depends. It's not necessarily what the things that you're doing, it's the strategy and why it matters. So if you're trying to show appreciation to your best customers to give them more attention, then that makes sense. And also it makes sense if you're, you know, a lot of times, like if I have a customer, the customer and I, okay, so think of it like this. If I give the customer great results and they love me, well, the next time I have a new product or service that can get them even more results and help them more, do they want to hear about it? Of course they do. So if you have opportunities to give them, thank them and stuff and make them more offers and more value, they're going to say, yeah, I want to hear about that. And you can do that tactfully and ask their opinion. And if they want it, they'll buy. So, but it has to be done strategically. You don't want to just give them stuff unless it makes sense for you. Dan asked, some may just send it balloon discounts. Hospitality world's different. It kind of goes to what I was saying about, you know, every industry thinks that they're different, and
Yeah.
based on your experience, it probably is that way, because like I said, 80% of people out there are doing things differently, but there are companies with enough creativity and trying in the right way, they don't have to do that. They don't have to give discounts. Discounts are like, they're like dynamite. They, you know, they need to be used sparingly in certain situations, but you know, really what the customer wants is value. And if you can add the most value and do it the right way, that's who wins.
It's also very hard once you've given somebody a discount, then when you charge them full price the next time, they say, whoa, you know, what happened? You gave it to me at a lower price last time. Can't you do that again? Difficult spiral.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what happens. Is you get the situation where people get addicted to discounts, and that's just not a good place to be in a business. You know, you want to, you know, what matters is your take home. And would you rather have a business that made $10 million and $1 million profit, or just $1 million and $1 million in profit? Well, I want the easier option. It doesn't matter how much you're making, it matters what you're taking home. So, you know, with your customers, do what Diane said, which is that she was confident. She said, this is the value I provide, this is the price. And if you have the right customer, they're going to say, I value you and I want to work with you. The tire kicker is the one who don't want to pay you anything and are hard to work with and annoying customers. They're not going to pay a dime. And so it also goes to what I was saying, which is attract the people you want, repel the people you don't.
The number of people on Nextdoor looking for, I'm looking for a great plumber at a low price. Okay, did you want a great plumber or did you want to pay a low price? It's not the same.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Alexander. You were wonderful. And I think our participants thought so too, judging by their comments. And I look forward to bringing you back in the future. I hope you're available for that.
Yeah, we could talk about that if you got a few minutes after we finish up with this. Or you got next.
Yeah, let's talk offline.
Wrap up first, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Well, thank you all for coming. And again, thank you, Alexander, for sharing your wisdom. Bye-bye, folks. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.